So, after yesterday's frustrating mission we've ever experienced throughout the entire game so far, thankfully though we've somehow approaching onto the final stretch in the whole entire game. Greetings ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Blaze the Cat here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, specifically for the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. No, not PC, and especially noticeable not Game Boy Advance either, especially because, like I stated so many times already, two of those versions in particular are entirely different. So, last time, we essentially did manage to able to almost collected every single Goofy Gooper tokens, and in fact, no matter what though, we've only got one more left. So as a result though, that's going to be on the final level in the whole entire game. And also, in addition to that, we also did manage to collect some more treasure chests. So as a result though, we've only down to 2 more treasure chests left. So speaking of which though, this is it. This is going to be the true finale of our Let's Play of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie video game, specifically the console version, because I will promise you guys to join at some point in the future. Let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Do you guys want me to tackle through the Game Boy Advance version at some point soon? Because I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Mainly for the sake of the films are trying to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the whole media version of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, for not only for DVD, but also on VHS video cassette release. So, because I already know for a fact that the DVD release and the VHS release did obviously came out in 2005. So, yeah, let me know in the comments. So, anyway, because of this though, today for this video is that we're about to try to find the final 2 treasure chests before we somehow obtained every single bonus collectibles and all that stuff. Well, to be more accurate though, we're gonna have to able to try to get the final 2 extra unlockables here and there. And on top of all that stuff though, we can also decide able to tackle through the final stage in the whole entire game by going into the final boss, which appears to be King Neptune has been brainwashed by the forms of the Chum Bucket helmet, all thanks to the evil clutches of Plankton. So, hopefully we should be able to actually stop him for good. And eventually though, it will just go back to normal if we somehow manage to able to deal with the forms of King Neptune. So anyway, a few things I want to talk about is, before we get on to the forms of this whole discussion alike. Today's date, of course, there is the 17th of December today, in some cases in 2024 today, so it may look like about the fact that, well, only 3 more days to go for the American version of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie is about to be releasing. In addition to that, 4 more days left until the UK version is just about to arrive for the big screen on the cinema release. And finally though, most notably though, technically speaking though, that for those of you who lived in Japan, I'm pretty sure they've got about, I would say, 9 days left, technically speaking, just because, like we've already established that before, that the time zones in Japan is a lot different compared to the forms of most regions around the world. So, that makes it a little bit more obvious than ever. So, anyways though, let's get into the forms of some more discussions I would like to point things out. The first thing we want to discuss upon is about the fact that, did you guys know, there's actually this lost beta footage was found for the sake of the forms of Paper Mario for the 3DS, which later on became Paper Mario Sticker Star, but let's not talk about that game right now. But what I do found out is about the fact that there was actually a lost trailer back in 2010 was found. And it does look very promising, all things considered, but I will still say that the beta version of the 3DS Paper Mario game looks 10 times as much more better than the forms of how it does on the final product to me though, mainly because not only the world themes is actually very unique, but it's also about the fact that obviously though, unlike the final version, there's a lack of the partners, whilst in the Lost trailer version back in 2010, does manage to technically shows us the actual partner showcase, or to be more specifically though, of what the Chain Chomp partner can able to do. And as a result though, it does look pretty fascinating throughout. Although, unfortunately though, similar to the forms of how it does on the final version of the game, basically though, it does utilize stickers. So as a result though, of, you know, trying to do some attacks and all that stuff, so, oh well, no big deal. So as you can see, we somehow found the final treasure chest in Rock Slide. So this means we are basically done every single aspect in terms of Rock Slide. So now we can able to actually go back into Shell City Dead Ahead for able to try to get the final treasure chest in the whole entire game. But the most unfortunate thing about it though is that since, as you can see, that we have to utilize with the warping system when it comes to going from level to level, this means, unfortunately though, do you guys even remember ever since in yesterday that we've technically already did manage to activate several toasters, or technically speaking of what I can tell, that we did somehow activate 2 toasters, but unfortunately though, it does not save our progress when it comes to activating those particular toasters. So we have to activate them again, and because of that though, we are going back into this particular notorious challenge right here. But thankfully though, we don't have to do this again. It's only the matter of time for the fact that we have to activate all 3 of those particular toasters as soon as we're able to actually get ourselves the final treasure chest in the whole entire game. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of repetition involved when it comes to dealing with this whole particular tedium involved when it comes to activating certain things like this. So, although for the most part, the first toaster is not too bad, however though, when it comes to the third and the final one, oh man, you have to go through a whole lot lengthy process, especially because, like I've already established that before, ever since in yesterday, I hate the fact that these ring respawn points goes by a lot faster than it should be, which I know for a fact that it's ridiculously challenging, but regardless of anything else though, is about the fact that that's as far as I can try to able to describe about how much I really despise this mission so much. But either way though, I suppose let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point right now, just because, well, I just don't feel like talking about that particular monstrosity of that mission ever again. Because, you know, after all, we've already completed the entire mission after all. So, anyways though, let's get back into the forms of this whole discussion about the forms of the game rewards while we're trying to find the last 2 toasters as soon as we're able to actually guarantee to get ourselves the 42nd and the final treasure chest in the whole entire game. So, yeah, I think the last time I actually mentioned about something relates to the actual award. That's what appears to be Best VR/AR Game, which, as a result, the winner for that award goes to, obviously, like I stated before, since yesterday, Batman Arkham Shadow, which, as a result, though, is a shame about the fact that that game never gets the release on the console version treatment, though. Well, let's face it, though, it's just about the fact that no matter what, though, they are busy working on other titles, you know? Anyway, so the next category we have is Best Action/Adventure Game. And that award goes to, strangely enough, or unsurprisingly, Astrobot. Just because, well, I can totally see why a lot of people seem to really love that game so much on the PlayStation 5 as an exclusive. So, anyway, the next category, which appears to be Best RPG, stands for Role-Playing Game. Basically, that award goes to Metaphor Refantasio, I think is what it says anyway. I do apologize for that particular tongue twist in the end, folks, because it has been about quite a few hours ago since I actually have last played this game for sure, after the events of this whole trauma when it comes to the forms of this particular quote-unquote hardest and especially noticeable with the worst mission I've ever experienced in a SpongeBob game. So anyway, the next category we have is Best Fighting Game, and the reward for that particular category goes to Tekken 8, which is kind of surprising because I was assuming about the fact that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero were able to claim that particular award, but actually as it turns out it was Tekken 8. Kind of like the forms of how it does in last year, that Street Fighter 6 does manage able to receive the Best Fighting Game award ever since in around a year ago. So yeah, I guess that makes it pretty obvious that two of those franchises in particular, with the new installments in mind, does manage able to claim themselves the actual awards respectively, within the forms of not only for Tekken, but as well as Street Fighter as well. So yeah, that's actually pretty swell. Anyway, the next category we have is Best Family Game, and the winner for that goes to, unsurprisingly enough as well, Astro Bot again. So it may look like that Astro Bot did somehow indeed manage able to actually become the most victorious when it comes to likely for those rewards so far. Although I was expecting about the fact that Super Mario Party Jamboree will get the actual award. I mean, mind you though, it's about the fact that unlike last year, that Super Mario Bros. Wonder did indeed manage able to get themselves the Best Family Game Awards, which I do fully appreciate it, especially concerning for the fact that we actually got ourselves a brand new Mario 2D Mario game for a very long time after the events of the Wii U era with New Super Mario Bros. U. So yeah, I guess that seems totally obvious for the sake of time. So anyway, Best Sim/Strategy Game Award goes to Frostpunk 2, so made by 11-Bit Studios. So I never actually heard about it up until now, so yeah, kudos to that. And the next category we have is Best Sports/Racing Game Award, and that award goes to EA Sports FC 25. So yeah, nothing ordinary or anything. And the Best Multiplayer Game Award goes to, well, suffice to say that Helldivers 2 did manage to claim that award, because I was assuming about the fact that Super Mario Party Jamboree will also get that award, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, especially it's all down to the actual voting system. So anyway, next up we have is Best Adaptation, and the award for that particular category for the Best Adaptation award goes to Fallout, which as a result though, I definitely heard about it, but I've never actually watched any of those episodes for the sake of the forms of the Fallout series for my life, especially because concerning for the fact that the only time I do watch something for the likes of adaptation for certain video games for this year, that's what appears to be, of course, Knuckles the series, for what I've heard anyway. And sure enough though, it's about the fact that not long now actually, until the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie is on the horizon. Well, usually it's not long now though, until that particular film is going to be releasing. Now I'm really hoping about the fact that it will claim ourselves the greatest opening weekend for the sake of that particular film, unlike such another film, which appears to be Mufasa the Lion King. I mean, usually, I just still wish if there's going to be a 2D animated counterpart of Mufasa the Lion King to make things a little bit more interesting, especially concerning for the fact that we can definitely tell the characters' emotions, not the forms of this live-action hybrid of any sort, because it just looks a bit jarring to me. Well, apart from those side of things though, we shall wait and see what happens during at some point by, this Friday coming up, but I'm sure enough that was about the fact that I'll let someplace else we're able to actually mention more about that particular topic if we get onto the forms of the last bunch of Let's Plays for the sake of 2024 before we move on to a brand new year, which is of course 2025. So anyway, the next category we have is Most Anticipated Game, which means certain games we are really looking forward to for next year. And the reward for that particular category with the most anticipated game goes to Grand Theft Auto 6, because let's face it though, it's been so many years since the last entry in the series, which is of course Grand Theft Auto 5, but I definitely heard about it though, but I've never actually experienced Grand Theft Auto 5 for myself. Mind you about the fact that it's been every single systems up to this point, apart from Nintendo Switch, just because of the graphics and all that stuff, which as a result though, at least thankfully though, that the Grand Theft Auto games has already been released for the Nintendo Switch recently, thanks to the forms of that particular compilation game, despite it was pretty much a botched mess at launch. So anyway, so yeah, as you can see right there, about the fact that we're just about to activate the final toaster, which thankfully though, we actually got plenty of time left, and there we go. all toasters have been activated. So this means we've got the final treasure chest in the whole entire game. So you know what that means? We've only got one thing left, and that's of course trying to get into the final level in the game, which obviously though we must rescue King Neptune from the evil clutches of Plankton's brainwashed helmets. So, but anyways though, well, to be more accurate though, the forms of that particular chum bucket, or chum bucket helmets. So yeah, so far we actually now are 98% done, so we only got 2% left, and that's going to be on this final level right here. Turn the tables on Plankton. So with that being said, let's go in and hop into this, and thankfully though, we don't have to necessarily try to worry about trying to find the next few remaining treasure chests as far as this is concerned. And obviously that was about the fact that this will lead us to the final boss in the whole entire game, and I'll let you guys watch that particular cutscene again since we technically already seen it from earlier. So
Krabs, time for you to die.
Not so fast, Plankton. I brought back King Neptune's crown, and I'm here to save Mr. Krabs.
Nice work, SpongeBob. You made it all the way to Shell City and back. That's a heroic feat. Too bad it won't help. All hail, Plankton.
Hey, King Neptune already has a crown.
That's no crown, Patrick. It's one of Plankton's bucket hats. Plankton is controlling King Neptune.
That's right. And now I'll have the pleasure of removing you along with your friends. Neptune, I command you to kill SpongeBob. Kill SpongeBob.
alright, so it's time for the final boss in the game, which appears to be the King Neptune that usually does have a chum bucket helmet on its head. So, meaning about the fact that he's obviously trying to attack us now. So basically though, we're actually going to be going into 3 phases this time. So, unlike in any other bosses in the game, that basically though, we have to do the actual boss fights in one singular run. Thankfully though, in the final boss in the game, every time whenever we do die at one point in the entire level, this means the checkpoints will be a lot more generous enough, which you'll see why if we get onto the later phases of this fight. So yeah, basically though, in order to be able to deal the amount of damage to King Neptune right here, is that as you can see, we need to turn these tables around until you realize about the fact that, well, you see why if we able to deal the amount of hits on him though, mind you about the fact that the only time you can only hit him is that if he gets stunned for a while. This means you need to able to actually activate the Sonic Wave technique, and as a result though, we can able to actually hit the actual chum bucket helmet. So yeah, that's the main premise of the fight. And basically though, as soon as you're able to realize about the fact that you do need to dodge his attacks first, until you've realized is that if you do manage to dodge his attacks, you'll just go insanely crazy, and the perspective is actually in a different angle, and this means about the fact that we must able to dodge his lasers coming from the forms of the Tritons right here. And basically though, you need to aim right exactly where the frozen Mr. Krabs right here was actually located, and then once you're able to turn these tables around, then obviously that is about the fact that the lasers were able to actually did indeed manage able to stun King Neptune for a bit, and as a result though, it's your chance to able to use the Sonic Wave ability until you're able to deal the amount of damage on him. So, relatively a cool boss fight though, I will admit it though right away. However though, it gets a bit challenging at times, mainly due to the forms of how the fact that you need to rely on the forms of not only well-timed jumps, but as well as from that though, the camera angle will mess you up sometimes, especially concerning for the fact, as you can tell already, that obviously though is about the fact that I honestly have no idea why. I'm trying to do is the hardest method if possible, but usually relatively speaking though, for the most part it's not too bad, because like I said before, if you do die at one point, obviously though the checkpoints will be a lot more generous enough, so this means you don't have to force to, you know, restart every single parts of the actual boss fight, thankfully though, unlike this very schizophrenic original version of Battlefield Bikini Bottom sometimes. Specifically though, if you go inside Robo SpongeBob as it is. So, however, if you do get hit by the attack right here, obviously though, thankfully though, the actual face of the fight does not reset, so you have to specifically try to dodge every single of his attacks, and then once you've done so, well, obviously though, you can now able to actually just get into the different perspectives and what have you. So, I mean, for the most part though, when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby for the most part, and thankfully though, just like the defaults of how it does it in, Dennis Strikes Back, level, basically though, we can able to take control of SpongeBob this time. So, and as you can tell, that SpongeBob's look is actually a little bit different, especially that for those of you following from the movie, basically though is about the fact that we somehow give the King Neptune's crown back, and if we think we are basically done, well, obviously though, the entire thing itself is not over yet, due to the fact that, well, obviously though, Plankton just somehow managed able to call it an umbrella for King Neptune, and as a result though, yeah, it looks like that King Neptune has been brainwashed. So yeah, it's up to SpongeBob, or mainly SpongeBob most likely, because unlike Patrick though, sometimes he does manage to help. So either way, like for instance though, is about the fact that when SpongeBob goes like, Plankton cheated, and then Plankton was like, cheated, and as a result though, it's hard for me to explain, because I know for a fact that it's been about a couple of weeks ago since I actually have last seen the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, but I do know for a fact that it's already been came out just recently on Netflix. So as a result though, this means we got the entire trilogy of the SpongeBob movies and all that stuff on Netflix now. Well, including this honorable mention, which appears to be by the forms of this disgraceful Saving Bikini Bottom, a Sandy Cheeks movie, which, to be honest with you guys, I don't feel like talking about that particular movie anymore, just because, well, obviously it's pretty terrible in comparison, so, but I digress. So I believe we are basically now done with the second phase, so, and I believe we are now approaching on to the third and the final phase. So, as a result though, it looks like that King Neptune has decided able to make things a lot more challenging now, so it's up to us to able to finish him off for good. So anyway, now if you're probably wondering, how come the background music has changed? Well, obviously though, as soon as you get into the third and final phase of the fight, basically though, you might able to hear it for yourself, if you managed able to own a game that is, you're able to actually hear the most iconic song in the whole entire film, which appears to be the Goofy Goober theme song, or to be more accurate though, Goofy Goober Rock music, which unfortunately though, for this playthrough anyway, I don't feel like trying to able to put that music in the background, because for I can tell, it does manage to contain copyright laws. So as a result though, yeah, I do apologize for this point folks, but I will say though, that the Goofy Goober Rock song is actually pretty dang awesome, especially concerning for the fact that in the film though, as soon as when SpongeBob does manage able to never shuts up about the forms of how the fact that, well, he's obviously distracting Plankton, of course, just in case about the fact that he did indeed manage able to become super form of himself, or to be more accurate though, a musical superstar for the likes of the Goofy Goober Rock. So relatively speaking, I was about the fact that that way, he can able to actually get rid of every single chum bucket helmet with every single townspeople and all that stuff, including King Neptune himself, and as a result though, Plankton did somehow manage able to just, well, get knocked all the way to the ceiling, at least what I've heard anyway, well, usually, because, you know. And unfortunately though, if you couldn't tell already, I somehow got distracted by this very irritating enemy sometimes, because yes, every once in a while though, on the third phase either way, every once in a while though, these flying enemies will distract you at one point. So I think it's probably best if we decided able to take these guys down first, and then you can able to actually deal with the main part of the fight, just because no matter what though, if you don't take those guys down, obviously though, it'll make the entire boss fight a lot harder. So as a result though, definitely a challenging boss fight if you pretty much know exactly what to do. Well, luckily though, just like the forms of how it does it on the, well, any other phases for this fight, again, if you do die at one point, as you can tell, we are immediately resuming onto the forms of the third phase, luckily. So, thankfully though, that the checkpoints are generous, thanks to the forms of one of those marks on the boss gauge and stuff like that. So, but as you can tell, we're doing pretty rough at this point, especially because of all this very annoying projectiles, and as you can tell, as soon as when that particular cutscene happens, then I obviously suffered knockback, so that's a bit of a nuisance. So, that's okay though, because obviously that was about the fact that unlike the Game Boy Advance version, that you do need to worry about extra lives. So either way, chances are that was about the fact that you have to concentrate, and then as a result, oh jeez, that was a close one right there. Although, kind of thinking about it though, is that those floating enemies now have more health points as opposed to the forms of how it does it in the previous encounters with these enemies though. At least thankfully though, unlike the forms of how it does it in one of those levels in Welcome to Planktopolis Minions level, that thankfully though, the actual combat section is not by all means, it's not that much or anything else like that, or it's not that too much or something, so, but I digress. So hopefully we can try this again, and hopefully though we can able to try to succeed this time. I'm hoping so anyway, but again though, we have to able to take care of these enemies first, and then you can able to actually deal with the main thing, which is of course turn these tables around, and then once you dodge all these attacks again, then I'm sure enough though you'll be quite fine as soon as you're able to focus, so, but I digress. So back to what I was saying about the forms of the game rewards kind of thing. The next category we have is Content Creator of the Year award, and that particular award goes to Case Ooh. So yeah, I never heard about that company before, but yeah, kudos to that. And the next category we have is Best Esports Game, which that award goes to League of Legends. So yeah, I guess it's that. And the Best Esports Athlete goes to, with that award in mind, that award goes to Faker. Okay, pretty interesting stuff. And I suppose, oh, there's also the next category, which appears to be Best Esports Team, and that particular award for that category goes to T1. Okay, kind of an interesting choice there. And finally though, Player's Voice Award goes to Black Myth Yo Kong. So yeah, unfortunately though, similar to the forms of how it does it in 2022, unfortunately though, Sonic does not make it into the forms of the Player's Voice Awards, just like the forms of how it does it since, you know, 2022, because I believe that Silver did tell me this, that he was very, very gutted about the fact that Genshin Impact did somehow manage to claim that award of Player's Voice Award back in 2 years ago. So yeah, I suppose beggars can't be choosers, I guess, especially considering for the fact that at the very least though, I feel like that at the end of the day, it may look like I don't think it's possible we can able to see some more game announcements for the time being, because you know, we are nearly at the end of 2024 before we move on to 2025, and I do have some high expectations of 2025, especially because not only for its celebration of this anniversary of one of the most popular franchises of all time, but it's also with the forms of some more games, it's going to be on its way. So either way, and I suppose we'll let someplace else we'll mention more about Sonic Racing Cross Worlds eventually at some point. So anyway, so the last hit has been done, and that pretty much does it for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, and we somehow restored everything, including King Neptune himself. So let's watch the ending to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game on the console version.
Kill him! Kill him, you idiot!
Idiot?
No, idiot. French for handsome man.
Eugene Krabs, it looks like you were innocent the whole time. Oh well, that's why pencils have erasers. And now to thank the brave heroes who recovered my crown and saved Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick, you have performed a manly deed.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Mindy. I've learned a few things about myself. I may be a dork and a wingnut.
And a knucklehead and Expazitron.
Yes, but more importantly, I'm a kid, and I like being a kid. I'm just glad that everything is back to normal.
And so ends the most heroic tale ever told in Bikini Bottom. And as the sun sets over the island paradise above the waves, we must stop and wonder, how long until the sequel? Depends on the box office. Now go outside and get some sun. You look awful pale.
Wait a minute though, unlike in the movie though, not only for the fact that Mr. Krabs did somehow became back to normal again, but eventually though, that when Squidward decides able to join in the phrase, basically though, he decided able to give the actual manager badge for SpongeBob himself, especially because, well obviously though in the movie, that SpongeBob's dream has officially become true. So, yeah, that's as far as I was gonna able to try and think about it. So as you can see on screen right here, this is what really happens if you do manage to able to claim yourselves the 100% in completing the game. And as a result though, it's just a small montage of SpongeBob become a manager of the Krusty Krab 2, and no matter what though, it also plays the Goofy Goober rock song, which, like I said this before, I don't think it's possible I can able to put the music up for you, just because I was able to claim my copyright. So as a result though, it's just there for the sake of the films. If you're curious enough, if you do manage to able to complete your 100% completion of this entire game, either on the PlayStation 2 or Nintendo GameCube or Xbox. So yeah, I guess the reward is okay at best. So at least that's to me anyway. So but yeah, that's pretty much about it in terms of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, specifically the console versions of the game, and relatively speaking, let's give my final thoughts of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie video game on the console version. And what do I think about it? Well, it's actually to me a great follow-up to the films of Battle for Bikini Bottom. Well, it does have a share amount of issues that I have with it though. Like for instance though, it's about the fact that the entire game itself is completely linear, as opposed to a lot of like open sandbox kind of gameplay. And it's also worth noting for as well is about the fact that, well, I will admit it though right away, is about the fact that the graphics itself does age quite a bit, but there are a few quirks here and there. Like for instance though, is about the fact that the lip syncing just goes all over the place, much like the films of how it does in the original version of Battle for Bikini Bottom. And also not to mention though, is about the fact that the actual events of the film, well, there are some scenes are currently missing. Like for instance though, is about the fact that, like I said this before, that Squidward was completely absent from the game. Well, he does technically make its appearance for the sake of the films of one of those still images for one of those cutscenes, probably due to the fact that obviously that was about the fact that I will admit it though right away, that I will say that the game follows up pretty nicely, but either way though, that's as far as I was going to be nitpicking about that point. So anyway, in addition to that though, the controls wise, it's pretty much exactly the same as the films of how it does it for Battle for Bikini Bottom, so I totally appreciate about that. So in addition to that though, I do like the Fonzie upgrade system, and on top of all that stuff though, it's just about the fact I feel like the combat in this game is actually pretty satisfying, despite the fact that it might be a bit too much at times. Specifically, I'm looking at you. Welcome to playing Topolis Minions level, just because, my goodness, it's gone bonkers, and it's pretty much a berserk kind of thing. So I digress. And also I do like some missions though, but there are certain missions I truly despise the most, mainly because as far as I'm aware though, that certain levels have been locked out because of the involves the power fact that we do need to collect a certain amount of Goofy Goober tokens in order to progress. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer though. But luckily though, about the fact that there was like 50 of those Goofy Goober tokens you do need to get in order to able to see the real ending of the game, or technically speaking, just try to get into the final stage in the game. But if you really want to get out of your way to go for a true 100% completion, like I do, well, good luck for, trying to go for the hardest challenges of how this game actually has to offer. Because this game is so obsessed with the forms those ring challenges, because it reminds me of so much of the Dark Ages in the past, which appears to be, yeah, Superman 64. And relatively speaking, if you dare mess up at one point, you have to restart every single aspect about the ring challenges all over again, and that's pretty much no fun. But apart from those aside things though, I will classify for saying you should probably be able to actually recommend getting this game either on the Xbox or Nintendo GameCube or the PlayStation 2. I will classify for saying recommend the PlayStation 2 version, despite the fact that if you couldn't tell already, on several transitions, sometimes though it does suffer the forms of some sound glitches from time to time. Well, usually it's probably due to my PlayStation 2 Slim is acting out pretty funny strangely. So yeah, that's as far as I can think about it. So before we end off this Let's Play right here, as you do notice, that we somehow immediately transported back into no cheese level, which is kind of surprising, concerning for the fact it's almost like we somehow rewind back in time. Well, nothing really bothers me too much though, just because after all, we somehow collected everything. So, anyways, let's show off some extras of this particular game actually plays out to be. Like, for instance though, as soon as you're able to keep on collecting those treasure chests, not only do you able to unlock not only those as familiar cutscenes as we remembered from the actual game itself, but it's also worth noting for as well, you can also look up on the forms of the not one, but two film trailers. So yeah, because concerning for the fact that this game came out before the movie, so it makes it a little bit more obvious about the fact that we can able to actually see some familiarities when it comes to likely for certain games that came out before the actual film releases. So in addition to that though, there's also some concept art that you can able to actually see certain fascinating piecework of art. So yeah, I guess that's all I can really think about it. And there's also some costumes that you can able to wear for not only for SpongeBob, but also for Patrick as well. But I did somehow found out how to do it though. It's that you have to painstakingly trying to select the specific missions you want to go into. And as a result though, that's the only method you can able to actually change those different costumes. Because sadly to tell you, you can't do it normally by selecting the actual costume you need to wear. And then you can simply try to exit out the pause menu. So you have to physically try to reselect the mission you want to go into, and then you can able to turn into something else. So, kind of a bummer though, but sometimes though it takes a bit of a while to get used to sometimes. Maybe they keep on thinking about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 0.2, a fragmentary passage for instance, that basically though you can able to actually change those outfits on the fly. So, and that could be also applies with the forms of maybe Super Mario Odyssey as well, despite the fact that you do need to go back into the Odyssey ship, you're not able to actually change your costumes at one point. So, yeah, that's as far as I was expecting. So, and it's also worth noting for too is about the fact I'm not exactly sure what these cogwheels can do to you. I think my guess is about the fact that that can activate something in particular. Well, mind you, about the fact I don't know this game that much, but from what I can tell, I did manage to enjoy it for what it is. But I will mention though right away is about the fact that several challenges, like I said before, is not only incredibly tough sometimes, but it's also about the fact that it's incredibly tedious as well, mainly due to the fact that you have to do a lot of time challenges, and also a abundance of ring challenges, and even micro time challenges as well. I mean, for the most part though, it's about the fact that if you're up for it, by all means you can do those, but it's just about the fact that, well, luckily enough though, I did manage to able to actually accomplish some missions on the first attempt, but others not so much, mainly because about the fact that the actual vehicle segments, sometimes the physics are pretty much loose sometimes. Well, that's just me. So anyway, and it's also worth noting for as well is about the fact that I'm pretty concerned about the fact that, well, honestly, that's not much else you can say, although it's a shame about the fact that obviously though is about the fact that, like I said before, that Sandy Cheeks was not playable in this game. I guess it's pretty obvious because she has the actual short runtime of the actual film that was based on, so either way. So yeah, that's as far as we can able to show off certain extras in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, on the console version that is, except the PC version, because the PC version is basically a click adventure kind of game. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So anyways though, let's just go ahead and see what happens if we somehow select one of the costumes, and oh, would you look at that, we became a sponge itself with no eyes, no pants, and everything, including with the no headset as well. So yeah, that seems kind of ordinary. So I guess that pretty much referenced the forms of the one of those episodes, which appears to be Pressure in Season 2 of SpongeBob SquarePants, at least for what I recall anyway. So yeah, I can totally get that with that particular reference in mind. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much about it for our Let's Play of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie video game on the console version anyway. So I hope you guys do enjoy this particular Let's Play, and I'm sure enough though, I do enjoy it for what it is. It's actually pretty dang underrated in my opinion. I mean, sure, it's about the fact that the entire gameplay plays pretty much exactly like defaults of how it does in Battle for Bikini Bottom, but I will still say though, it's about the fact that it is a good follow-up to the font of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but there are some slight missing aspects, you know? So, anyway, so this is me, Blaze the Cat, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going to be up next, though, in terms of SpongeBob related. Let me know in the comments down below of what specific SpongeBob game you want me to tackle through next, because I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. So, anyway, so, yeah, I will leave it to that. So, I'll see you guys at some point soon. Bye!